In your word shift lab, there is a little structure that looks like this. Yeah, there's this diagram. It's got this kind of this Ouroboros arrow thing. It's got an X in the center, and it's got some numbers around it. And then it just continues on like that. All right, cool. So this is not a normal programming structure. This is an if statement, actually. And in fact, it's several if statements. I'm drawing this out in this kind of way. So it's in a way that, um, each part is calling a shift, right? There's a shift on each of these. And remember, calling is, with functions. It's calling with a function called shift. All right. And so at each of these levels, it's calling that shift function. What that means is that there's an if statement in here, that if x is greater than or equal to 1, we are shifting. And then if x is greater than or equal to 2, we're shifting. And notice how important it is that I don't have EL at the beginning of this. That's what allows for this incrementing if statement, as I like to call it, to actually work. We'll look at it in code in just a moment, but notice how each of these is going to correspond with one of these. So that way, when the program goes through it, if x is equal to 2, both of these things would happen. The idea is to have it for all 5 pieces, so that way for x equals 1, x equals 2, x equals 3, 4, 5, each time x is going to cause it to shift. It's not just going to do it 5 times under an if statement for x equals 5, but it's going to do it 1 for each time that it meets, allowing it to be this kind of incrementing if statement. All right, so let's see that in code.
So that little circle thing isn't really a standard programming structure, but it is one that I've seen people use. It's one that I've used. It's useful, and I think by naming it and focusing on it like this, it'll give you a better idea about how to take advantage of something like it. Give you a better idea how to take advantage of programming standards in general, and then also specifically for the if statement. So I call it the incrementing if statement. And the reason why I call it, first let's just define increment. To increment is to increase, but steadily. So it's going up by 1. It's not like a sudden jump. It's slowly going up. Remember in the circle, it kind of went all around from 1 to whatever what the top value was. The incrementing if statement, the idea is that it builds on itself. And for an example of something that we might see with that, well, 1 is your word shift lab, but 2 is this. Let's pretend that we're playing a game, all right, video game. And on this video game, in order to pass each level, you need a certain score. You need a score of 12, all right? We're just going to set that as being our thing, all right? The score to pass a level is 12, all right? We're not going to make a variable for it. We're just going to write it down in a comment so we can have it in our minds. All right. So each level, of course, you start at level 0, and your score is going to start off at 0. And let's say now you've been playing for a little while, and the score is up to 65 at this point. All right, so with that, there are a few ways you could go about this. One is you could make a programming structure like, an if statement where it's going to say if score has made it to 12, then level equals 1. Else if score is equal to 24, level equals 2. And you could just keep going from there. That's not a great way of doing it. Of course, the best way of doing it would actually be something like level equals score integer division 12, because if it divided by 12 makes a certain number, that would be the number of levels you're on. But we're not going to do the best way here because I need some way to show you how to use the incremental f besides the lab that we're doing, so I don't really want to give you the answers to that. So honestly, yes, there's a better way to do this than the one I'm showing you here, but I think this is a good way of at least teaching how to use this kind of thing. Alright, so the score to pass level is 12. So what we could say for this incrementing f is that we say if score is greater than or equal to 12, and then level equals level plus 1. Now notice, right there, I'm checking to see if it's at least 12. In that case, give it plus 1. But 13 would also work here. Next, if score is greater than or equal to 24, level equals level plus 1. And I'm going to keep doing that for a while. 24, 36, 60, 72, and we'll just go and pause it right there. Alright, so my score is 65. You know that I will get this one. But here's the thing. I'm also going to have all of these other if statements also occur. Level should go up to level 5, which is correct. That's the level it's supposed to be on, the 5th level. And notice how I've only, though, done that by incrementing one piece at a time. That if we get to the end of this, we would say you are on level because of your score of now if we were to run that, it would tell us that we're on level 5. So that right there is the idea of the incrementing if statement, where it's when we want to continue making conditions happen as we go on.